altitude is being brought down from 800 meters, and we are nearing and approaching the lunar surface. Currently only 2 engines are now being fired, and we are nearly at 0 velocity, vertical and horizontal. We were hovering, and now we are approaching the moon's surface. We can see the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who is here to encourage us, and he is critically looking at the visuals.
जी हाँ, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं कि हम लैंडर मॉड्यूल
People are applauding. Let us all wait.
Try to find a real photograph of the Earth from space. That's the real kicker. One of the things that got me into this was that famous picture on your iPhone that everyone grew up with is not a real photograph. Why wouldn't you just use a real one? We've got tens of thousands of satellites, some that can take pictures of things 20 million light years away. But you haven't, in 50 years, you haven't turned one of those around to take a picture of the Earth. You had to use a composite. And those aren't my words. NASA's own data visualizer, Robert Simmons, said, we piece it together and I draw the clouds on and I use the Photoshop tool and I paint the oceans the way I think they would look. They're literally using computer-generated images, and before that it was paintings. So you really have to ask yourself, have we ever been high enough to take a photograph of the entire Earth? They don't appear that they're able to.
What, are you telling me that that's okay? We could just gloss over that? And they admit that they're all CGI, except for one in 1972, which is fake. They have one picture. They say one is real in 1972. All the rest is CGI. Like, where are the pictures of Earth from space? I want to see a picture. I want to see tens of thousands of them. I want to see the sun over here and the moon over there. People should have posters and all over the world. People should have these epic pictures of the Earth from space with the moon over here and the sun over there and the planets. There's none.
These people that believe the Earth is flat.
Finally, there's a big wall of ice around, and the sun's closer than we all thought, too, and smaller.
And a lot of them say there's a fucking big dome over it. The map that you see on the United Nations logo, he thinks that's the actual map. Well, how did the Hubble get out past the dome?
Didn't.
That's all made up?
Yep.
People witnessed a space shuttle take off, or a rocket take off from Cape Canaveral. Where does it go?
That's why when you see it go up, it starts to go on a curve. It fucking goes on a curve, goes out of sight, and then they just cut to this, studio footage of, oh yeah, we're fucking up in space, look at us go, hey.
Oh my God, so all the astronauts are just...
Actors. Actronauts.
Actronauts. Oh my God, I can't wait to see Chris Hadfield.
Didn't fool me.
So
though.
Chris Hadfield has never been to space, is what you're telling me?
Never. No one has.
Is it worth it? Oh yeah, it's worth it. If you're strong enough.
If you believe you're on a round ball spinning in outer space, stop scrolling. This video is for you. Now remember, the only reason you believe you're in outer space is because someone you respect told you were. Other than this, you have no proof, and you are about to see that that isn't proof at all.
Any experiment today can prove that the globe doesn't exist. It's impossible.
But then, how can we determine the real shape of the planet? The CTZ researchers collected information on the movement of the sun, the moon, and the stars in different parts of the planet. In this research, which lasted several years, images were recorded by cameras installed in all these places during the day and at night.
We found several differences in the trajectory of the sun. One of the most significant was between Australia and Argentina, which are in the same tropic.
While in Argentina, the sun moves at about 180 degrees. In Australia, it moves almost 270 degrees, which would be impossible in a spherical Earth model. Another significant example was in the Canary Islands, where a time-lapse of the stars showed a circular movement incompatible with the spherical model of the Earth.
This movement would only be justified if the place were near the poles in a spherical Earth, which is not the case.
We do not understand that with so many discrepancies we have found, and with the technology available today, no researcher, no scientist, no astronomer, no space agency in the world has perceived any of this.
The discrepancy in the comparison of the trajectory of the sun and the stars between the different points when related to its geographical position in the current world map allowed to generate a new geographical model of the continents. In this model, the continents present a size and position somewhat different from the current world map, having the North Pole to the center and the other continents around it.
Okay, so here at the top, we have a map that was generated by the researchers at the Ziggurat Technology Center in Argentina. And at the bottom, we have a map, an ancient Chinese map from 10 centuries ago. You see the striking resemblance? Extraterrestrials are not coming from a place called outer space. They are coming from the extra terrains that you see here that are outside of the border that surrounds us that we know as Antarctica. This is the reason no one can go and explore Antarctica, because you will find out that we are not on a round ball in outer space. I have 300 videos on this subject alone. Go and check them out.
Answer kind of had a very funny thing that he said about science. He said, science wants you to believe that it's all about measurement and reason if you allow them one miracle. That one miracle is the Big Bang.
Yes.
That all things come from the most preposterous idea ever.
Yeah.
That everything came from nothing in one big miracle.
That's right.
Scientism is a spiritual agenda. I see it as a spiritual deception. It's something that has been put in place and masqueraded as fact and as reality, when in fact most of the things that are paraded today are theories of men.
The deception will pull you any direction, and this is where scientism is. I think this is the whole purpose of scientism. I think there are dark forces behind it trying to pull people into what they think is logic, and it's really speculation. It's really theory. It's not as concrete as everybody thinks it is. And like I said, I think evolution has been thoroughly disproven. My focus is on cosmology. That's where I've kind of come out, and that's what led me back to the Bible.
Science is great. Scientism, however, is a religion, is a belief system.
Since long before the dawn of recorded history, we've been trying to understand the world around us, and we've constantly turned to the sky for answers. By unlocking the keys to the stars, the sun, and the moon, it was reasoned, we would learn more about the Earth. So we've remained ever vigilant, turning both our persistence and our technology to the task at hand. But the conclusions have not always been particularly well thought out. 2,000 years ago, an Egyptian scholar by the name of Eratosthenes performed an experiment that he claimed proved the Earth to be a sphere. However, there are serious doubts about the accuracy of his data and his scientific procedures. Dr. Leo Ferrari explains.
Oh, the Eratosthenes experiment is an experiment supposedly conducted in the 1st century, whereby this ingenious person was supposed to have proved, I say that in quotes, that the Earth was a sphere of some 4,000 miles radius. Eratosthenes one day noticed that the sun was directly overhead in Syene, whereas he noticed that on the same day, at the same time, the sun made an angle of 7.2 degrees to the vertical at Alexandria, which was some 530 miles away. How did Eratosthenes in the 1st century know what the sun was doing on the same day in two places which are 530 miles apart? One can take all those same data, knowing that the Earth is flat. In one place you have the sun directly overhead, and at another place, at the same time, at 530 miles away, let us suppose that it does make an angle of 7.2 degrees to the vertical. Then we have a right-angled triangle, which it can be easily shown that the sun is some 4,000 miles up in the sky. These superficial, even, considerations show that it's impossible. The whole thing, it's a story, a fairy story made up and mindlessly repeated in textbooks.
Fortunately, not all scientific arguments are based on such questionable research. The Greek astronomer Ptolemy determined to everyone's satisfaction that the Earth is flat, circular, and the central body in the universe. His theory went unchallenged for 1,200 years. Not surprising, really. One need only look around. However, the notion that it was some other shape gained some acceptance during the Renaissance. These were impoverished times. Most writers, artists, and scientists could not support themselves through their work. They depended on the patronage of the upper class. Consequently, creative and original thinking men let their imaginations run rampant in order to attract support. The fact that Leonardo da Vinci designed a flying machine late in the 15th century confirms that the sky was the limit to which scientists would go to impress potential backers. And an examination of the shape of the Earth was a popular theme. In 1543, the Polish astronomer Copernicus suggested the bizarre notion that the Earth is a round ball that circles the sun. But his book emphasized it was only a hypothesis. He further avoided controversy by withholding the book for 13 years, and then by dying on the day it was published. Edmund Halley, the highly esteemed British astronomer, best known for the comet named after him, proposed that the Earth is made up of several concentric spheres, each supporting life, placed inside one another in the manner of a Chinese box puzzle. Marshall B. Gardner, however, insisted that the Earth is completely hollow except for a small sun that lights the interior. The argument, for all practical purposes, came to an end when the Church of England was established by law during the 16th century. They rejected many laws of the ancient Catholic Church, and to appear forward-thinking, they embraced many radical scientific notions prevalent at the time, including Copernicus' round Earth theory. With this endorsement, the theory found its way into the schools, which were then largely controlled by the Church. It has remained there to this day, and many children have accepted it without question. But it was hundreds of years before Einstein's time when explorers like Sir Francis Drake and Ferdinand Magellan were pushing out the boundaries of the known world. And it wasn't easy. As they ventured further and further from established trade routes, the fear of coming to the edge of the world and falling off became a very real one. Sailors became increasingly apprehensive about joining such an expedition. So Copernicus' notion that the Earth was a ball you couldn't fall off of was readily embraced by businessmen. And when Magellan's crew claimed to have circumnavigated the globe in 1522, it was seen as a new piece in the scientific puzzle. But more importantly, it was seen as a strong psychological boost for free enterprise. It's also been seen as a huge publicity stunt.
All kinds of proofs right around you that show that the Earth is flat. A very simple one to think of is that we use plumb bobs to build buildings. In other words, to get the wall of a building going straight down, you'll take a string with a heavy weight hanging from it, and you'll make the building follow that string. That plumb bob will point to the center of a round Earth. That means that if you imagine that this was the correct Earth, you can imagine a plumb bob held here would point in that direction, and a plumb bob held here would point in that direction. That means the buildings would be bigger on the top than at the bottom.
Samuel Burley Rowbottom, better known throughout the scientific community as Parallax. In 1881, he had published this book, Earth Not a Globe. Outlining dozens of experiments performed over many years, it quickly became the standard authority for anti-globularists. Perhaps the most significant experiments were those carried out on a canal known as the Old Bedford Level. Located in Cambridgeshire, England, the canal is perfectly straight over an uninterrupted 6-mile stretch. While there, Parallax conducted many experiments, all towards one conclusion, to prove that the surface of the water in the canal was indeed perfectly flat. In one experiment, a boat carrying a flag rowed from one bridge to another 6 miles away. An observer with a telescope placed 8 inches above the surface of the water found that the flag and the boat were distinctly visible throughout the entire distance. If the Earth is a sphere with a circumference of 25,000 miles, then over a distance of 6 miles, the second bridge should mathematically be 16 feet below the observer's eye line. Consider this. Those who maintain that the Earth is a globe that spins suggest that people standing at the equator are being whirled around at approximately 1,000 miles an hour. They further maintain that the Earth is spinning around the Sun at a speed of 67,000 miles per hour, and that our Sun is supposedly racing around the center of our galaxy at some 600,000 miles per hour. And yet, you and I both know that on many days it's possible to stand outside without a single hair being messed up by the breeze.
You put your hand outside a window of a car which is going even at 80 kilometers per hour, a terrific wind goes blasting by and pushes your hand back. Imagine putting your hand outside the window of a car that's going 1,600 kilometers per hour. We just take your hand right off.
With a sphere of 4,000 miles radius being spun round once every 24 hours, a little bit of calculations will show that that person there is being spun round at about 1,000 miles an hour and doesn't know it. I mean, this is obvious nonsense. You go on a merry-go-round and it goes, I doubt, more than 10 miles an hour, and you get off all dizzy. You mean to tell me that people can be spun round at approximately 1,000 miles an hour and not know it? Why, if this is so, this whole room that we're in is supposedly being spun round at something of approximately that order of speed, and we don't know it?
There's all kinds of evidence for the phenomenon of what's called continental drift. This means that the continents are able to move as if they're floating on a fluid. Now, if the Earth is spherical, if it's spinning, anybody knows that if this is spinning very, very, very fast like that, that the continents should all be located at the equator, because centrifugal force would move the continents from the poles to the middle. One of the real big problems that maybe is a little bit easier to understand, sound doesn't travel nearly that fast. So, for example, if you're at the equator and you wanted to shout to warn somebody, it's quite possible they could never hear you, because if you were shouting, say the Earth was spinning in this direction, and you were shouting in that direction, the sound could never catch up to the person who's, of course, being carried away by the Earth. Now, what you don't know, you eliminate. And that's in my opinion is what the globular Earth theorists have done. They've just eliminated what they didn't know. The more honest approach is the flat Earth approach, where you say, well, we don't know what's at the ends, but the ends are there.
The National Aeronautics and Space Administration does not exist. All the space missions that we've heard about since we were little kids in school, creations of Hollywood. We did not land on the moon. There is no John Glenn. Well, there's a John Glenn who's a senator.
Here is the moon from the surface of the ground, and flip it. Here is the moon, closer to the moon, in space. It's a dot. This dude, it says that this dude, what did it say? Astronaut photographs his office during his ride to work. I think the astronaut works for Photoshop. That's his office. Like this is his office, is Photoshop. Because look at that. That's just a speck. Where's the other one? This is the moon from the ground. Look how gigantic and huge it is. They go up into space and all of a sudden, whip, it's a dot. It's super, super far away. They can't make up their mind what it's supposed to look like out there, ever. It's always constantly changing.
Habitation on the moon. We can visit other people with their habitation. We can keep track. If there's something very important to be developed from the moon, I'm not sure what it is right now. And I sure think we should identify what it is for America to make such gross expenditures again for human habitation on the moon. We can help. We can join with. Together, we can explore the moon and develop the moon. We should go boldly where man has not gone before. Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Who put that there? Well, the universe put it there. If you choose, God put it there.
Resting on one of the portable life support systems, which will be used on the moon's surface.
Now we're coming in. Can't quite make out who that had. Let's see. More at home. Roger. Looks like Neil is coming in 5 by there. 11. Mike, see you in the background.
540 feet down at 30, and at 15. At 400 feet down at 9. Gate forward. 70. Great shadow. 4 forward. 4 forward. Drift into the right a little. Down a half. 30 seconds. Forward. Just. Okay. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
See the stars through the thing? The lettering? Look at all up in here. See all the stars through the... Right here. All over here it's see-through. This is the live Russian spacewalk. Look at. You can see all the stars through the image here. Oh, look at all. Oh my god. You see them all through here. Look at the stars. Look at. Oh my god.
I'm from outer space. I got Milky Way for blood, evolution in my veins. I'm gone, I've been far away. I'm illuminated now, make a move, start the waves. I've been dreaming about flying for a long time. I had a vision from the birds, they want a coastline. Artificially intelligent way. I'm the future, past and present, I'm a fine line. Yeah, I'm a missing link of this illusion. I am not really here, I'm an intrusion. I don't feel sick, I just flow. I don't need gravity, I need flow. When I move, it's in a quick rumble. I won't ever fall, never stumble. And I don't need to be humble. Break down walls like there is no crumble. When I
If you've ever had a dream that you can fly, that's just what it's like. You got to remember, if you wake up late at night or something and get out of bed, that you're not back on the space station. Because if you think you're back on the space station, you'll jump out of bed, try to float to go to another room, and you'll end up on the floor.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity, but when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know.
I poured a glass of orange juice for myself, and person as close as I am to you, I passed the orange juice to them and just pushed it toward it. Would have worked perfectly on orbit. Made a great mess there, thanks to gravity.
And basically, since we're in microgravity environment, you can learn about the human physiology by the lack of gravity. We can figure out about when we go further to Moon or Mars, and also because we understand better about human physiology, we use that knowledge to help our everyday life on Earth.
Panelen wordt de urine opgevangen en.
What is gravity?
You know, the Soyuz is a bit more like,
you know, the whole gravity thing.
What is gravity? What is gravity? What is gravity?
Sorry. The Soyuz actually is a bit shaped like this pen. It goes up straight up through the atmosphere. Now, you know, you've got the space station right up there. It's doing gravity.
Hurricane. You're pretty amazed and you start taking pictures. And all of that of it, but then you forget that there are people endangered down on Earth with the hurricanes and all that. So sometimes it's easy to lose perspective up here of what's actually happening down on the Earth. So when we see those hurricanes, we have to remind just how dangerous it is for everybody on the ground.
Although it's very weak, is very long range. It can reach across the universe
and slow down the expansion of the material that came from the Big Bang, turn it around, pull it back together, turn it into galaxies and stars and eventually planets and a place where to live.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
Meanwhile, that second stage continuing to power Dragon into orbit. Again, if you're keeping an eye on that timer, that's going to continue to burn until 8 minutes and 44 seconds into flight. So a little over 2 minutes from now, we'll hear the call out SECO. It'll then be a little
Stage 2 propulsion is still good.
A little over.
In 1969, we were able to send somebody to the moon. 1969. Then we had the space shuttle. The space shuttle could only take people to low Earth orbit. Then the space shuttle retired, and the United States could take no one to orbit. So that's the trend. The trend is like down to nothing.
Got to get this off my chest right now. When people say they want to go into space, what do they typically mean by that?
They mean I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going into space, man. I'm going up there. I'm going up there.
Up there, and generally they mean they want to go into orbit, right? Anyone who has ever been in space.
They don't mean that. They want to go to space, man.
Well, okay. If that's the case, do you know how many people have left low Earth orbit? The Apollo astronauts.
Okay,
that left Earth.
Right.
To go to the moon.
All right. Okay. And that's space.
Those are the only people who have ever left Earth for a destination.
That's cool.
Every other astronaut, hundreds of them, are called astronauts, and we still say they went into space. And what that means is they went into low Earth orbit.
Oh, that's just awful.
And so low Earth orbit is, in practice, where the space station is. It's about a couple of hundred miles up. So the distance from Earth's surface to the space station is less than the distance from New York City to Washington D.C.
Oh, God! Why are you depressing me like this?
I'm just trying to be honest about this.
This is awful.
Okay.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on space station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
And this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit.
They can put a man on the moon, but they can't keep track of the equipment they use to do it. That's according to NASA reports obtained by the I-Team. Kennedy Space Center employees report just last year, nearly $500,000 of high-tech items simply vanished. Like this one, a digital video recorder valued at $100,000. Here's another one, 11 radios lost. Price, $35,000. And a high-tech wave reflectometer went missing in 2008. That's another $18,000. NASA officials say they're aware of the problem.
We need to do a better job of keeping track of it, obviously, and we know that. We want to do a better job of it.
Most of the missing items are computers, TVs, and radio equipment.
Don't spend your time tracking computers and not launching spaceships. I mean, you need to be launching spaceships.
So all that lost equipment still adds up to $500,000 the taxpayers paid for.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
Right. We've been unable to track it down. I mean, we don't know where this telemetry data ended up, and we don't know what path it may have taken. So, unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
Here we go.
Out of almost 8 billion people. And this gentleman here says we can only send a handful of astronauts to space at a time. Who is we? That's my first question. My next question is, if we're just a speck of dust in this infinite amount of space that is ever expanding, why is there no industry for it? Why is there only a handful of astronauts going to space? I'd imagine it's because a handful of people can keep a secret much better than millions of people could. You know, everything that has anything to do with space has been debunked and is currently being debunked every single day. No one's ever stepped foot on the moon. And if you believe that they did, I don't know whether to feel sorry for you or to feel sorry for myself because I didn't have such a great childhood to where I'm still believing in fairy tales. Satellites? They are attached to helium-filled balloons and they are within our firmament. This is a fact. Find me a picture of a satellite orbiting our, quote, planet. There are allegedly 6,500 of them up there. You mean to tell me one satellite can't show you the others? Come on, make it make sense. Then people are going to get in the comments and say, space is dark. You know, they can't take pictures of... Dude, look at the ISS footage. Pretty bright up there if you ask me. None of it makes sense, but you're not looking at it critically because you've been indoctrinated to accept a set of beliefs. That's what indoctrination is. And after you accept these set of beliefs, it becomes your religion. No different than Hinduism, Catholicism, atheism. And just like with any religion, you get upset with others when they present information that doesn't coincide with your belief system. My guy, you're working on blind faith. I'll bet it all right now, you've never been to space. You've never been up high enough to look down and see what you've been living on. We were all born into a wildlife preserve for humans. You see, your brain can only go as far as the information it carries, and nobody informed you on what this place really is. Some of us have eyes to see it and some of us don't. When all you have to do is follow the clues, follow the money. This hierarchy society that we live in is based on monetary gain. If space was a real place, there would be an industry for it. There would be people capitalizing on space. They would be selling tickets to space for $25,000 a pop. They'll take you up far enough to where you can experience weightlessness and you can look down and see that you live on a globe. The same way they show you the Grand Canyon via helicopter. Space would be a tourist attraction, but it's not, because it can't be. Space ain't a real place, my guy.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
Hang on. So, what you're saying is that in order to send humans through this region, we need to solve the challenge of getting through the Van Allen radiation belts. but I'm confused. Didn't you already solve this challenge back in 1969 when you sent astronauts to the moon and subsequently 5 other times after that?
That the many problems have been solved, we are ready to begin our first voyage to the moon.
It is quite possible that an aggressor nation that dominates space will then dominate the world.
We're in the final assembly building of the LEM. Stanley Kubrick and I have set ourselves several objectives. We hope to convey to the public the wonder and beauty and promise of the new age of exploration, which is opening up before the human race.
Father, here we are on the LEM ship, and one can almost imagine we're on our way to the moon, or we've arrived at the moon, as a matter of fact.
Can you believe it? Can you realize that that you and I, that all of us, have actually begun the exploration of another world? We have taken the first historic step into our solar system.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We, the crew of Apollo 11, are privileged to represent the United States in our first attempt to take man to another heavenly body.
Man walks on the moon! Man walks on the moon! The first man from Earth walked on the surface of the moon this morning, and the suspense here in London is unbelievable. Houston. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming. I'm going to step off the LEM now. Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over. That would be an honor. Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made in the whole history of man. All the people on this earth are truly one. One in their pride in what you have done. And one in our prayers that you will return safely to Earth.
Let's start this video by pretending that you believe everything NASA says, like so many Americans do, despite the fact that of all government agencies in existence, NASA has one of the shadiest foundings of all time, complete with hundreds of Nazis shuffled over to America secretly after World War II in Operation Paperclip, including their star, Wernher von Braun, who got his own Disney special.
A voyage around the moon must be made in 2 phases.
And who NASA describes even today as one of the most important rocket developers and champions of space exploration in the 20th century, but who even they cannot deny was a card-carrying Nazi, member of the SS, and not only was he running the underground slave labor facility where his rockets were being built, von Braun himself would travel to a nearby concentration camp to hand-pick slaves to work for him as laborers. Even the
Three Chinese astronauts aboard the nation's space station are getting ready to teach their first science class from space. Hello there, you're watching The World Today, coming to you live from Beijing. I'm Xiao Yang. Chinese astronauts will be giving a lecture to young students on Earth this afternoon from the nation's space station.
So I have a ping pong ball. I put it into the glass of water. Can you see that? The ping pong ball actually not really coming back to the surface, right? It's inside the water. So that's phenomenon quite different from what you have there on Earth, because that buoyant force actually seems disappear because there's no gravity here. So we talk about that in the absence of a gravity, there seems like no buoyancy.
I'm Don Pettit. I'm a NASA astronaut. I've flown 3 times to the International Space Station and spent over a year living there.
I do not believe you that you can get a great cup of coffee inside the International Space Station.
Okay. Most of the time, you are absolutely correct. The standard cup will not work in a weightless environment. You know, the cup that we're all used to drinking.
Wait, I have a stunt cup right here.
Oh, a standard cup like this does not work in a weightless environment. It requires gravity to hold the fluid in the bottom of the cup, and it requires gravity to allow the fluid to flow out when you want to take a sip. A standard cup like this does not work in a weightless environment. It requires gravity to hold the fluid in the bottom of the cup.
It requires gravity to hold the fluid in the bottom of the cup.
It requires gravity to hold the fluid in the bottom of the cup, and it requires gravity to allow the fluid to flow out when you want to take a sip.
Busted. Now that's really, really funny, and there is no doubt about it. They are both liars, but what's really funny is this lady here says there's no buoyancy in a zero gravity environment, but watch the piece of trash that got into the glass of water. Watch it float back to the top of the water. That's called buoyancy, proving that she's not in a zero gravity environment. Now, I know most of you are saying, but hold on a minute. How is the ping pong ball staying under the water? Well, that's really, really simple, because it's not a ping pong ball. It's a little sponge ball. And as she sticks the straw in, that's why she's using this great big old straw to put right over the top of it. And as she pushes it down into the water, all the bubbles, all the oxygen bubbles in the sponge ball go right through the straw. And you never see the bubbles go through there until I zoom in to show you the last little bubble escaping up the straw. Check this out. Let me zoom in a little closer. Okay, now watch this. There it goes, right up into the straw, and then you can still see the last little bubble clinging on to the little sponge ball that didn't make it up the straw. I would suggest that China stick to making cheap tools, because they're not really good at faking space.
What up, bro? Did you know that this thing, there's this hole right here? See that hole? It lines up with Polaris, the North Pole Star, all year. If you look at nighttime through up on the other side, that hole goes up, and then the North Pole Star is right in the middle, and it happens year round. This is actually proof that the Earth is a flat, stationary Earth. And that's why this costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to build, right? This is what they want for the New World Order, of course. But the point is, they know what the Earth is, right? This thing wouldn't work if the Earth was spinning 1,000 miles an hour, shooting 66,000 miles per hour around the sun. It literally wouldn't work. It gets even worse though, guys. On the side here, it's actually a calendar. So if you see this right here, this is a calendar. So if you look through this, you can track the sun every day throughout the year. There's a certain year where it will be right in the middle on the solstice. It's a calendar. Okay, they buried a time capsule over here. Yep. And it tells you all about the astronomical abilities of it, right? This is some crazy stuff. So, channel through stone indicates celestial pole. That's the little hole that you see the North Star through every day for thousands of years. Horizontal slot indicates annual travel of sun, which is that right there, which is how you get the solstice. Sunbeam through the capstone marks noontime throughout the year. There's a slit in the top. When it's exactly 12 o'clock, the sun will be right in the middle of it. This is because the sky does the same thing and resets every year. This will always be accurate. That's why I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building it. Or it would be a waste of money, right? It would only be right 1 year or something. So, pretty wild stuff, man. And of course, the top right here, Babylonian cuneiform. Yep. So that's when everyone had one language. And then it broke up. That's what this is all about. Babylon, one language, it breaks up into all these other languages. Down there are the modern languages, which are what the 8 are printed on. And they say, on the English translation, unite the entire world with a single living language. They want to go back to Babylon, bro. And they're not trying to hide it. It literally says it. It says, let these be guide stones to an age of reason.
The Earth is a sphere. The answers you get might surprise you.
Curving horizon, the sloping sea level, the spin of the Earth. Unless you can see these phenomena with your own eyes, they may not be true. Unlike what we've been told in school, the Earth looks like a snow globe, round but not sphere. The North Pole is at the center of most flat Earth maps, with the ice of Antarctica holding everything in.
The round or spherical Earth theory is propagated by some conspiracy.
And the number of people who think so is growing. Thousands, if not millions of people still believe the world is flat.
And it's the subject of tonight's special report. WCIA3's Aaron Eads is here with us now. And Aaron, as far as conspiracy theories go, flat Earth theory is actually getting pretty popular.
Yeah, believe it or not, the number of people who believe the Earth is flat is actually growing. Scientists might have an idea of why that is, and it's worth talking about. And what better place to do so than one of the flattest places places in the country right here in central Illinois. It doesn't get much flatter than this. Geological survey data shows Douglas County is the flattest county in Illinois, which is the second flattest state in the whole country. On a clear day, it seems like you can see forever, but you can't. Through the eyes of a person of an average height, the horizon is about 3 miles away. But that's it. You can go up higher to see a greater distance, but you'll never be able to see the whole world no matter how high you get. But there are ideas that this is a sham. NASA, a fraudulent organization bent on siphoning your tax dollars. The moon landing didn't happen.
Those iconic blue marble images seen from space, fakes.
You start seeing words like composite or animation or something that tells you this is not an actual photograph of the Earth.
But in a world of disagreements large and small, for something as clear as this horizon, the interpretation could be infinite.
The biggest concern with the flat Earth movement is how fast it's gaining steam. Scientists are worried that flat Earth could become a political issue like climate change, vaccination, or evolution. Guys.
All right, fascinating stuff. All right, Aaron, thank you.
Very interesting.
Well, new this morning, all our lives, we've been taught that there's little doubt that the Earth is round, of course. We've seen the images from space, but not everyone's really convinced.
There's a whole group of people who are not convinced. Denver 7's Nicole Brady joins us live this morning. And Nicole, a conference dedicated to people who think the Earth is flat kicks off today.
It is happening in Denver. The Flat Earth International Conference is today and tomorrow. And in case you're not familiar with this, there are some variations in what flat earthers believe, but some common themes are the Earth is not a sphere, as you said. Other bodies out there are, though. It's not moving. We are not spinning on an axis or revolving around anything. And they don't really believe in space.
The billboard for the convention just went up along E470.
People can go there, be uninhibited about their beliefs, what they think. They can discuss it openly and freely.
As a pilot and engineer, Bob used to think it was crazy. One of the theories he now believes:
flat earthers also do not believe that there is any such thing as space. And that's a crazy claim, right?
So what about astronauts?
The space shots are actually shot in a swimming pool. And they are shot in a place that's called the NASA Neutral Buoyancy Lab, okay? And in this neutral buoyancy lab, they have a full-size mock-up of the ISS.
Bob knows this is controversial. He welcomes debates and says,
investigate it yourself. Do your own research. That's what matters.
If you are curious about the international conference, make sure to visit us online. We have more information there at cbsdenver.com. Live in Denver, Jamie Leary covering Colorado First.
And many attending the conference here say the theory has really gained popularity over the past few years, enough popularity where they can hold conferences like this.
The last 2 to 3 years, it's really taken off. I don't really know what the reason is for that. Maybe it's just time.
One factor of the growing popularity may be the coverage in the media. It became a hot topic recently when Duke's very own Kyrie Irving came out and claimed he believes the Earth is flat. Flat earthers admit while many will say their beliefs are ridiculous, they believe the theories and conferences like this will continue to grow.
Probably most people who hear about it will laugh at it, think we're idiots. But we're not idiots. We're intelligent people from all walks of life and all ages.
In Cary, David Hurst, CBS, North Carolina.
Yes, it is possible. Always because our lake, we think, is like a table.
How many kilometers do you see?
I can see almost 60 or 50 kilometers.
Normal, no binoculars, nothing?
Yes, normal, without binoculars.
With the telescope, the team was able to record images at a distance of more than 100 kilometers, which would be impossible in the theory of a spherical Earth, as the curvature would have a height of 237 meters, equivalent to a 79-story building. This experiment is yet another proof that the Earth cannot be a sphere. And the result of the experiment with radio waves? The researchers used directional parabolic antennas, where in the spherical Earth model, communication would be impossible, as the minimum obstacle would preclude this, since at the distance of the experiment, the curvature of the Earth would generate an obstacle of 3.84 meters in height.
We have connected.
Got it. We're with connection here. It's responding. The machine is responding. Returning. I'm having connection to your computer there. We have a ping back here. The connection is established. The signal that we wanted, we could scan there and managed to find it here. Communication was established. It has been proven that at this distance, we have been able to establish communication. We know that any interference in the way would mean not achieve communication. The test with radio waves was, let's say, unusual, because at the time we set our antennas, and with the design of the spherical Earth, we started to work with almost complete obstruction of the Fresnel zone, which is the region where the propagation of radio waves occurs, which would make communication impossible between the 2 points. However, with the idea of leveled waters, we would already have approximately 50% of the Fresnel zone unobstructed, which could allow communication between the 2 points, even if precarious. And how it happened.
This is yet another proof of the flatness of the waters, refuting the spherical model of the Earth. What about the geodetic curvature experiment performed on the buildings? Measurements were done of the bases and tops of 2 buildings, one in Torres, Rio Grande do Sul, and another in Natal, Rio Grande do Norte, 3,050 kilometers apart from each other. According to the theory of the spherical Earth, the distance of the measurements of the bases must be different than the measurements of the top, even in a few meters. But if the measurements are equal, this would show that the Earth has no curvature. Remembering the opinion of the INCRA engineers before the experiment,
Probably there will be in relation to the extension of this line, perpendicular to the baseline. I believe it will be longer.
Thinking of the Earth as a globe, the initial expectation was that the measurements were different.
But when the results arrived, the base and the top measurements were the same, showing that the 2 buildings are leveled upright. And here the opening angle, where we read the point here, the base of the building and its height. As we do this calculation here, on this plane, we will always find this distance here. On this plane, we will always find this distance here.
the identical measurements of the distance between the bases and the tops prove that between the 2 buildings there is no curvature, proving that the Earth has no spherical.
Ah, yes, this one. One of the best proofs that there is. Wait, you wouldn't believe me unless I do this. We are 21.29 kilometers away from the other shore. Houston, could I get a Happen Glove check, please? Happen Glove check. And this is one of the best experiments you can do. Why? Because there's supposed to be like a 40-foot. If you don't know how big 40 feet is, go find a 4-story building. Okay, 40 feet is enormous. And there's a 40-foot hump of water between the person observing the mirror flash and the person flashing the mirror. And look at that. Uh-oh, well, how could we see the mirror flash? Again, go test it yourself. Take a mirror outside with a friend, with a wife, with a significant other, with your wife's boyfriend, Dontarius, any way you want to do it. And you'll notice that as soon as that mirror is occulted, as soon as it's blocked by anything, you lose all flash. Complete and total flash, gone. And you'll see here we've got a...
All right, guys, I got a standard map of the world here. And what I'm going to do right now is look up flights from New Zealand to Argentina, and should be a pretty straightforward flight as we can see from the map here, but let's see what Google Flights has to say. So I've got Auckland, New Zealand to Buenos Aires. I'm gonna hit search. On the flight here, 2 stops, LAX, JFK. Okay. Auckland to Los Angeles, Los Angeles to JFK, JFK to Buenos Aires, Argentina. Huh, interesting. Let's look at the map again. So they want you to fly from here all the way up there, and then all the way across the United States, and then come back down to Argentina. Why do you think that is? Does that make any logical sense at all? Now what I have here is the standard flat Earth model of the world, Gleason's map, and here, this is New Zealand. According to that flight, we'd be going New Zealand to LAX, there, and then down. It's pretty much a straight line.
I need someone to explain this to me, right? I'm not saying that the Earth is flat, I know it's not. But if this is the Earth, right, and Darren Bent is standing on the North Pole, and I'm on a chair in space, and I've got the best binoculars, most powerful binoculars in the world, and I zoom in, and from wherever I am in space on my chair, I can see Bentley standing on the North Pole. If I then put my binoculars down whilst I'm in space, and I'm standing on the South Pole, will I see myself upside down? Not me, but will I see that person upside down? And if I do, and then I decide to get into a spaceship from my chair and fly to see him, how do I land? What? I don't get that. Someone needs to explain that to me. Don't say gravity, that's just a word. I don't understand. How's that? How's that happening?
Imagine how easy it would be for NASA to just do this and shut all the flat earthers up for good. Well, they can't, because the Earth is flat and space is fake. NASA not doing this is them admitting it's not a globe. Here's a video of pilots telling us the Earth is flat and there is no curvature to be found. Enjoy.
Or is it globe, mate? It's flat. This is flat. Thank you very much, mate. God bless.
A man asked the pilot if the Earth is flat.
Can I talk to the pilot, please? Right here. You're the pilot?
Hi.
How long have you been flying for?
Like, for 21 years, but maybe like 30 something.
I want to know, because they say the pilots know a lot. Do you think the Earth is flat or no?
I know it's flat.
You know it's flat? How long have you been flying for, you said?
Over 30 years.
And when you tell people that, do they think you're like crazy or no?
Only one person.
Only one person?
Yeah.
They built it for a flat, stationary Earth. And my goal is for some young fighter pilot to listen to what I just said, go out tomorrow and set the bottom of your L strobe on your altitude, run it out there to 80 miles, and that bottom altitude on your cursor will stay the same.
Are you a pilot?
Yes, sir.
One question.
Okay.
When you descend in the air,
Yeah.
do you dip or do you go straight?
It's straight.
Straight?
A little more with the nose out. That's it.
But straight. You don't dip into the...
No.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome, sir.
Have a great day.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature? No.
No? There's no curvature?
It's just all flat.
What's up, pilots? Is the Earth flat or round?
Flat.
Thanks. I'm with you.
Pregunta controversial. Hay un debate ahora, en YouTube especialmente, en el que las personas se cuestionan que si la curvatura de la Tierra es observable o no es observable.
No, a las alturas que vuelan esos aviones.
Usted no va haciendo ningún ajuste, va como si fuera parejito, sobre terreno.
No, pero sí tiene unos 2 grados más alto que normal, depende de lo que del peso del avión.
Ah, ok, la nariz va hacia arriba.
Sí.
Pero no tienen que buscar la curvatura. No, vuelan como si fuera sobre un plano.
Sí, es lo que trata de hacer el avión.
Bueno, muchas gracias.
Mucho gusto.
Que siga bien. Hasta luego.
Because they're telling us, that at least in the U.S., the ground's moving at about 700 miles an hour left to right. And I was thinking that's kind of odd if you're landing, going north, or moving in the north direction.
No. The ground looks to us like it's standing still.
Yeah, not an issue, huh?
Yeah, no. You could probably see the Rockies from Kansas.
Wow.
But it's a clear day, but if it's smoky or hazy, obviously you can't see.
Excuse me, guys.
Hey.
I have a question for you.
Yeah. One of us can answer it.
You guys adjust for curvature as you're flying through the air. The Earth is supposed to be a ball, right?
Yeah.
So should we be dipping down the nose of the plane to compensate for the curvature, or do you guys or do you fly over a flat plane?
Well, we're about a millimeter over a bowling ball. We're not that high.
8 inches per mile squared is the official story of what the curvature drop should be. So a distance that far, so if you're 8 inches from the shore on a beach and your friend is rowing his boat out 1 mile away, the boat should be already hidden by the curvature. You guys don't see curve, you see horizon or eye level.
No, I mean, if you look at more of this curvature of the Earth, we're on the perpendicular, we're just on that tangent.
So
and
really,
that never changes.
Earth's flat.
Sorry?
Earth is flat.
Yeah, well, we know that. We've seen it every day.
Flat and stationary.
Exactly. Everybody else.
Well, you know that. You guys see the horizon at eye level, and you have to understand that if you're on a ball, as you rise from the ball, you would have to look down to see the horizon.
Yeah.
You don't ever see that. I look out the window of the plane, and I see horizon as far as I can see, flat.
What's different from the front?
Even from there. Your windows aren't that much different.
Bigger.
Earth is flat. It's a big lie. You guys should look into it. You know it's flat. You guys fly over it every day.
We're not allowed to tell anybody.
I know.
Do you say it's flat?
Yes.
Yeah? Thank you very much.
Whenever you fly your plane, do you ever account for curvature?
No.
Do you ever account for Coriolis or Earth spin?
No.
Do you ever see the Earth curving?
No.
Does water find its level?
Yes.
Does it always find its level?
Yes.
Okay, so water always finds its level. Does water conform to its container?
Yes.
Y luego, además, aquí aparece como si fuera, no sé cómo le llamamos a esto, un anexo, un añadido, algo que se cose.
Sí, exactamente, un parchecito,
¿Un parchecito?
que me recuerda a una persona muy especial. Plana y estacionaria, ¿se ve?
¿Plana? Sí. ¿Y no tiene algo de achatamiento? ¿No se ve? ¿No? Eso es cuando ya nos vamos a la órbita, ¿no?
La curvatura se ve cuando la cámara es de ojo de pez, como la que llevaba el que se tiró de Red Bull.
Sí.
Ahí sí que ves la curvatura, pero si la cámara es una cámara normal, se ve todo recto. Normalmente volamos a lo máximo, el techo del avión es 41.000 pies, que son 12 kilómetros, 800 metros o algo así.
Sí.
Pero normalmente volamos a 35, 37, que
¿Y a esa altura
son
no se ve?
10...
La curvatura.
No, hombre, no, según... a ver, yo he volado con el Lear a 47.000 pies, con el Lear, el jet privado, que son unos 13 kilómetros, 600 o algo así, y tampoco.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
No.
No? What did you see while we were up there?
This is the blue sky, white clouds.
Yeah, is it flat or?
Pretty flat.
Pretty flat?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Captain, someone wants to say hi, is that okay?
Oh.
Do you adjust for curvature when you get up to a certain altitude?
Well, yeah, when you see the sun coming up on the horizon, then well.
But the plane stays at an even pitch throughout the whole flight.
Yeah.
So I mean, not too much curvature to account for.
No.
More flat than anything.
Nope, you close your eyes, you won't have a clue.
True. More flat than anything?
What was that?
It's more flat than anything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Flat or a ball?
Flat. What's a ball? I think it's flat.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty flat to me.
It certainly does, doesn't it? And you've got that flat in.
Excuse me, do you mind?
Hey, how you doing?
Very well, how are you? So you know how we just took a flight of descent?
Yeah.
Did you have to compensate for curvature?
Yeah.
So did you just have to compensate for curvature due to the flight of descent as we landed just now?
No, not necessarily. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
You bet.
So the pilot just told me that the Earth is flat.
Hey, I just want to say thanks for the smooth flight.
Great.
I did have one question. Is there like a specific angle of downward tilt you have to fly at?
3 degrees.
3 degrees for the curvature of the Earth?
Oh, for the Earth?
Because, yeah.
No, we just fly over the troposphere.
Really?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
do you have to keep like kind of going down because...
No, they actually have to nose up. And they fly. Yeah.
Really? Because I was reading some stuff on the flat Earth that made a lot of sense. Have you looked into it?
Which one? Sorry?
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat Earth.
Okay, yeah. True.
It's true?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
All
Hey,
right.
God bless, brother.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
I'm a fellow, Casey Josh, I'm a fellow just PPL, pilot here.
Yeah, nice.
I've got a couple of serious questions to ask you.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, there's a big time. Curvature.
Curvature?
Yeah.
Yep.
We don't allow for curvature, do we?
For anything, not here usually.
No, we're round, we're a disc, aren't we? Round and flat.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hey, look, honestly, quite seriously,
Yeah.
we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Do you know what this place is? It's located in the center of the North Pole. And it's the center of the Earth magnetic field, known as the Taurus field. That black thing in the center of the whirlwind is the tallest mountain on Earth, far more taller than the Mount Everest. It's so tall that even it peaks reaching out the clouds. It's the Rupes Nigra, or the Black Rock, also known as Mount Meru. Some people also called it Mount Zion. You wouldn't find this massive mountain existence in mainstream science and media because it's deliberately concealed. Because if the world knew that there is such a huge mountain in the center of the Earth, it would change the course of history. This includes the true nature of our world will be rewritten, and that will undo the globe-shaped Earth theory and the entire timeline of the Earth from the beginning. and they don't want that. Look how the wind stream passes through that mountain. It blocks the wind stream because of its height and size. The Rupes Nigra, or the black rock described by Mercator as 33 French miles in size, or roughly 40 miles in diameter. It's purportedly explain why all compasses point to this location. The biggest shareholder of all the
One simple and definitive proof that you are not living on a spinning ball orbiting around the sun is the fact that daytime and nighttime never switch places as they must for the heliocentric model to be true. According to the globe doctrine, Earth makes one complete rotation on its axis every 24 hours, while simultaneously orbiting around the sun and completing one full revolution every 365 days. If this was truly happening, however, as you can see from the following image, the daytime and nighttime sides of the globe would have to flip every 6 months. For a more detailed illustration of this, imagine the sun rising at 6 a.m. in New York on the summer solstice. After 3 months of 24-hour rotations, the globe would be 90 degrees from its previous position and a quarter turn away from the sun, meaning that sunrise in New York during the autumnal equinox should now be happening at midnight. After 3 more months of 24-hour rotations, the globe would be on the complete opposite side of the sun, 180 degrees from its starting position, so that sunrise in New York during the winter solstice should be happening at 6 p.m., or in other words, daytime and nighttime would have completely flipped from 6 months earlier. In reality, as you can test and observe for yourself, this simply does not happen, and remains yet another nail in the globe's coffin. Welcome to the real world.
So, I did a video the other day about sunsets on a flat Earth and sunsets underneath, or the sunlight rather, appearing underneath the clouds on a sunset, or rather on a flat Earth. And somebody in the comments, I'm not sure if they were being sarcastic or not. So, I'm going to answer the question anyway. I mean, this was a video in the next lineup about the sun speeding up and slowing down. Something of the effect of, if the Earth is flat, you would have to assume that the sun speeds up and slows down, and nobody witnesses that. Well, actually we do. You just have to time-lapse it to witness it, because it happens so slow compared to our timeline, we don't really take notice of it. If you time-lapse it, and you can put 4 years into a mere minute or so, then you'll see the magic, and this is what it does. This is simple observation of the sun. A couple of years, I think it's like 2.5 years. You can see the time it was taken. Every night at 5:40, it does do the daylight savings time and all that garbage. Anyway, it runs on a racetrack. Figure 8, never deviates. It goes fast in the south and slow in the north. It doesn't wobble. The Earth doesn't wobble. You know, this is direct proof of it. They say the Earth wobbles 3 degrees. Well, then you wouldn't have a racetrack. Okay? This wouldn't be possible. Not to mention, if it wasn't a flat Earth and it was a globe, the way they said it was, that wouldn't be a figure 8 at all. It'd be a straight line up and down. Right? This here is the sunsets pointing to the west. So, I mean, you'll see the times. So every time at this place, if it said that's the time of the sunset, that's the time to take the picture. And you will see that it comes north to a certain degree. I can't really see it on my phone. I forget what it was. Because I'm doing this on my video editor on my phone and not on my computer. Anyway, so it goes to a certain degree and it stops. It will never, ever, ever go more north than that degree. And the same thing with the south. And it returns to the north to that same degree that it was in the north prior. And it returns to the south when it hits that far north degree. It returns to the south. It never deviates. It's running an ordinance like a clock. Who built the clock? There's only one person, or not a person, but there's one being that built this place. And he's very vocal about it. So anyway, those two videos show the Earth, or I'm sorry, those two videos, excuse me, show that the sun moves at varying speeds and that the Earth does not wobble. These next two little clips here I just doing real quick because I'm going to move on from the sun. I'm going to throw up some other ones on some different subjects. I'm trying to keep them short. Anyway, this is from David Wise. David, thank you very much. If you see this, you did a good job. Keep doing what you're doing, by the way, too. Anyway, this is from, I believe it says drone, and I want to say it was 3,000 feet up. I could be wrong. If you see this, Dave, correct me on your heightage if I was wrong. Anyway, so this clearly demonstrates the throw light of the sun, that it doesn't have this phenomenal amount of throw, you know what I mean? It can only go so far because of atmospheric opacity. I don't have all the answers. I'm not a genius. Okay, I do understand a little bit about atmospheric opacity with refraction, and I'm learning a lot about it, more so studying flat Earth than I ever did in high school. So, and you will see here that there it is. See how it fades out from the center out? It doesn't set. It just can't throw the light anymore. It's like shining a flashlight in the fog. It's only going to go so far, right? Well, your sun's a flashlight. The Earth has humidity. That's like a fog. I mean, humidity is water in the air. It's water vapor, and it makes like a convex lens. It's just something to think about. But like I said, I don't have all the answers. I'm not a genius. I'm not going to pretend that I have all the answers. But the answers that I do have, I'll be more than glad to share. So if you try to jam me up, good luck. I will never, ever, ever deny what God said to Job in Job chapter 38 when he says, the shape of the earth takes shape like clay under the seal. That's a flat earth. Anybody denies it, well, then you hate God. Plain and simple. He said it. If you love God and you're a Christian, you'll accept it. Why? Because he's your God. That's why. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of it. Only about 30 more seconds. So, have a good day.
What up, fam? Check this out. If we animate all sun positions over a year, the animation gives us the impression of a wave going around the field, like an outside source pushing and pulling on the field and then projecting its image in it, that being the sun or the moon. Alright, so check this out. A rainbow is a source projection and its source is the sun. Therefore, if the sun is a source projection of an unknown source, we can start modeling the path of the sun for each observer on Earth. So that's what we did. We took just one longitude, being the 0 UTC meridian on Earth, and then inputted data from observations for azimuth and declination of the sun, and then traced that sun object for that location for a year for each 10th latitude north and south of the equator, and then just let the data run its course for a year. And drum roll, guess what the result was? What a surprise, a torus field around the Earth. Beautiful. Even though the sun is an equal distance to the observer, the shape and the layout still ended up being a torus field. How cool is that? Alright. Alright, so this is a magnet underneath a ferrocell, and with what we know about magnetic holography, it's as if the sun is projected into the electromagnetic field in the sky. So the sun follows the magnetic field lines that are unique to each location on Earth. Now here's another magnet underneath a ferrocell. So the top here, the bottom, this line in the middle is called the inertial plane or the block domain wall. That's effectively where we live. And again, here's a magnet through a ferrocell, but this time you're looking at it from a top view. Refer to my video, The Magnetic Field, that explains it pretty well.
The Earth's flat.
Yeah.
Let's say the Earth's flat.
It's not completely flat. It's an electromagnetic bandwidth of information. So everything operates as electromagnetism as radio frequency. So there's a set bandwidth of information that this experience that we're having now operates on.
So what are we talking? Is it a square? Is it a rectangle? Is it?
It doesn't exist objectively. It is you. It's like it's being projected. It's, you know what I mean? Like it's a holographic construct that builds itself as we interact with it. It's a divine being of sorts, like an organism. So heaven, headven, hell is the heel, and then earth and heart are anagrams of each other. The heart chakra's green, and the trees and the grass and everything's green. The throat chakra's blue and the sky's blue. Your body is made of a bunch of cells, lymphatic fluid and blood, yeah? Cells are selves. The lymphatic fluid is the ocean, and the oil is the blood. The mycelium's the nervous system, and then the vegetation is the lungs. Man is the measure of the universe, and the hue man, when you look on the television, you've got hue and saturation. Saturation is the richness of color, and then hue is the tonality of red to ultraviolet, yeah? So hue is the light spectrum. Man is manifestation. So the hue man is the manifestation of the light spectrum. And we're electromagnetic, holographic beings, that multi-dimensional beings.
Ladle some gravy right here. So this is what a torus field looks like underneath a ferrule cell. So for example, let's say that this is the top of the torus field. So let's say that was the top, right? As above, so below. Has some truth to it. And then right in the middle is something called a block domain wall. That's effectively where we live. So we don't live on a sphere, we live in a sphere. So here's another example. We live in the middle, as above, so below. So we know what the torus field looks like underneath a ferrule cell. This is the orbit of the ISS. This is public information. Does the orbit look familiar? How about now? It's following the path of the torus field. And did you guys notice the orbit of the ISS where it does not go? Doesn't go anywhere near the North Pole or the so-called South Pole. So the so-called planets, or just wandering stars, also have perfect sacred geometry as if they're also following the magnetic field. Heliocentric, geocentric. Not observable reality, all observable reality. Perfect sacred geometry. And then here's another view for you. Look at that. Perfect sacred geometry. Once you understand where you live and how it works, it's honestly immaculate. It's beautiful. I personally don't know how anybody could look at this and think that the Earth was not intelligently designed.
With this piece I made of resin, I will show you the dome as seen in our firmament. Here are your stars. Nothing more than bubbles. Maybe contains gas or not. But only thing is an external light or a torch. There you have on your left the sun, and there you have on your right the moon. Very clearly you can see the yellow sun with daylight and white like in the night. If I turn it in correct angle, there you have your day and night. Do you see it? If I want to make an eclipse, I only have to put the light in a determined way, and the two will combine. Boom! Eclipses. All right, this is a simple way so you can understand how I see the firmament. Now you can come up with your excuses. There you can see two lights. Yellow for the day as sun, white for the night as moon. There you have it.
Please can someone help explain how on this flight the moon is below the horizon? horizon by quite some way.
What are moon craters? Well, first of all, you have to understand that the moon is plasma, noble gases. So that would explain what your craters in the moon are. Those craters happen during creation. When God made the moon is when those craters appeared. That's why it's always been the same craters on the moon since the invention of the telescope. There's not one new crater up there. All these years, it's all the same craters because they were all formed during the creation of the moon. And the craters are a result of gas entrapment, which means when the moon was being created, the gas entrapment bubbles would burst and cause a crater after they burst. Now, for example, you see this crater here? And you see this crater here, and this crater here, and this crater here. You notice how they have that little tiny dot right in the center of them? That is where the bubble burst and receded back down into itself, forming the crater. Now, for example, check out this picture of gas entrapment bubbles in epoxy. Now, notice this gas bubble here has that identical little dot in it. And this gas bubble here has the same little dot in it. Not every single one of them do, but several of them do. Just like in the moon, not all the craters have that little dot, but a lot of them do. Now, let's compare the gas bubble craters in the epoxy with the gas bubble craters in the moon. As you can see, they are identical. So, like I said before, being that the moon is made of plasma, noble gases, that would explain why you have these gas entrapment bubbles that have burst and left craters. And then again, I could be just totally wrong, but you ask a question and that's my theory on it. And like I said before, since the invention of the telescope, there are no new craters on the moon. There's not been one new crater on the moon since we've been able to see the craters on the moon. And I've looked at the moon through telescopes and cameras for hours and hours and hours, and never have I seen a asteroid or a so-called meteor hit the moon and leave a new crater. So that leaves the funny question of asking yourself, well, how did all these craters form from asteroids and meteors, and then all of a sudden in all of our lifetime, they just stop hitting the moon, stop making craters? So, now if you believe in the theory that the moon is a big rock up in space with moon dust, and that asteroids and meteors made these craters and hit this solid rock all the time, well, you would be looking up into the sky, and this is what you would be seeing all the time. Now, this is computer generated, but I'm just showing you, if you believe this theory, this is what you would be seeing with your own eyes all the time. But anyways, thanks for watching, and God bless.
So I bought a Nikon P1000, one of the best cameras you can get with the most zoom, just to look at the moon. I've been looking at the moon here and there, and what I've noticed is that it never changes. The dark side of the moon is always dark. It's always facing us, and you never see the back of the moon. And that caused me to do some research. And another thing I noticed is that the moon, the patterns on the moon don't look like they're random. They look familiar. And then so I started to do some research about the moon possibly being a map of the Earth. Check this out. People have already done research on it, and just check out what I found here. This is mind-blowing stuff.
Sturgis revealed that if you treat the moon as the mirror image it is, and flip its image like you would with any reflection, then you can start to map our known land masses with utmost precision. And this is exactly what Sturgis has done, mapping the known world captured in the moon down to its Great Lakes and deserts. The striking similarities between our known world landmass and that captured on the moon are far too exact for it to be any kind of coincidence. It has been right in front of our faces every single day, literally. It is likely that no one has connected the dots here before because of this particular unknown landmass, which Sturgis has appropriately named Lemuria. And this landmass is very important because we know that it does not exist anymore. Theories of Lemuria's existence as a lost continent have been around since the 19th century.
We are going to start with the spherical theory. So, it's simple. We take a ball and we call it Earth. We surround this ball with another ball and we call it the plasma belt. Then we take the sun and we let it shine on the Earth. The Earth is giving a reflection on the plasma belt. And on the plasma belt, we see our own reflection. The reflection is, surprise, the moon. What do you mean the moon is the reflection of Earth? What do you mean? Where are all the rivers and the forests? Yeah, but let's suggest that Earth is 1,000 times bigger than we are told. Then the moon is a reflection of a gigantic big Earth. It's simple. We take the Earth and we zoom in into the moon. And then we see all those circles, the so-called asteroids impacts. Well, let's suggest that one of those asteroid impacts is a flat Earth. That would mean that we are surrounded by other biosystems. So, if this theory is correct, now we understand why Antarctica, the so-called Antarctica, the snow wall, is being militarized. We are afraid of other biosystems attacking us. It's like in the series Game of Thrones, where there is a gigantic ice wall protecting us from invading species. So, when you hear another story about aliens coming from other star systems, well, maybe they won't be coming from other star systems. They might be coming from planet Earth. Maybe on one system you have the humanoid species being dominant. Maybe on the other biosystem you have the reptoids or the insectoids being the dominant species. And when you hear the story of Jules Verne, when people are going to the middle of Earth and they discover a totally new world, maybe there are tunnels here on Earth where you can reach other biosystems, and instead of going to the center of Earth, you are going to another biosystem. So why would they not be telling us this all? Well, maybe the elites are thinking, well, our population is not ready for this information. They will panic when they know that we're not alone on this planet. Well, for myself, I would rather hear the truth than being lied to all the time.
Hey, let's talk about the cloaking system using optoelectronically controlled camouflage. U.S. patent number 5307162. Feel free to look that up in your free time. The cloaking system is designed to operate in the visible light spectrum, utilizing optoelectronics and or photonic components to conceal an object within it. Okay, so let's look at our diagrams here. Okay. You can put it in front of a tree and it'll reflect that tree in front of all the equipment. Okay, all right, so that's what we see here. All right, okay, you can conceal a vehicle and without anyone knowing it's there. Okay, looks like right here, this could be the moon. Something's hiding in the moon there and you can hide it. You see the clouds, notice those. All right, so it's out there, people. I know everyone has seen how, everybody thinks the moon is fake. There's people operating inside or alien visitors. We don't know. All I do know is that they've had this technology for way too long. This is 1990. The patent was in 1994. So I promise you, this has been going on. All right, a background of the invention. The need for this invention arises out of the present state of the art of military camouflage in the visible light spectrum. This invention is designed for the purpose of concealing both stationary and moving objects from view. The term cloaking is used in the title of this invention and elsewhere herein refers to concealing such objects.
The 2012 lunar wave was, after many years of research, actually shot on an equal night and day or a true equinox. It was not reported as the equinox day, but that's a whole other story. To my knowledge, there has been no lunar wave film to date which is quite as crisp and revealing and in your face as the 2012 capture. As fate would have it, just the way that I captured it on accident proved that it was filmed event. The camera pan does that. And bright people and people who studied the clip knew that years ago. Took many years for very many people to catch on. It has all the fingerprints of what I call a classic lunar wave. 2 waves, very crisp, very defined, and you know they've happened when they've happened. In this case, there's actually a pulse and some scan lines going on at the bottom of the moon, which have been revealed in later clips. But of all the clips, if you look carefully as the waves go by and you pick what I'll call a landmark on any point of the moon, as each wave passes, it displaces, like you're looking through water, it displaces what you're looking at. In other words, the entire image of the moon is displaced twice, once by the first wave and then again by the second. Currently, or as it stands now, from my point of view, the 2012 or first capture of the so-called lunar wave is the benchmark for all lunar waves. Still stands head and shoulders above everything I've seen, although there have been some astounding catches. I would further add, I'm not certain that everything that has been called a lunar wave is the same type of event that we're witnessing here, but that remains to be shown.
It's time to wake up, y'all. You remember on the Truman Show when they showed the moon? The guy was inside the moon.
Talk to him. Truman. You can speak. I can hear you. Who are you? I am the creator of a television show that gives hope and joy and inspiration to millions.
Ultimate Flat Earth Proof. Astrolabes were designed for a geocentric universe, and they are as accurate as the path of the luminaries themselves. This is a geocentric clock based on the Earth being the center of the universe, not the sun like we are told by mainstream science. This is the oldest working geocentric astronomical clock displayed in Prague. They recently changed it and added a globe, but the mechanism inside is still geocentric. You can still find many examples without a fake globe, just type geocentric clocks. It's not a coincidence that the path of the planets, aka wandering stars, are an exact match to the Gleason's map and the fact Gleason was a flat earther. It wasn't just Gleason who depicted a working flat earth with great detail. Here's their Bono Monti map made in 1587 showing the path of the sun and the tropics. This map was used for war strategy because it's more accurate than the map they were using at the time. Can you see it yet?
Perhaps that beautiful clock in Prague shows much more than just the time. Now, you know, if you follow this page, I'm not in any one camp when it comes to globe earth, flat earth, but I certainly think it's more than what they tell us. Just look at this map that's in the UN, or this 10-century-old map found in Japan. And I believe the moon is certainly not what they tell us either. Just take a look at this and let me know, how is this possible? Unless the moon is a reflection of our true realm, our true lands beyond the ice. That's why you're not allowed to explore independently above the north or the south once you cross the 60th parallel. We've already been told by many, like Admiral Byrd, that there are vast lands beyond the ice with an abundance of resources. Now do you understand one of the many reasons why they lie? They want us to think everything is scarce and limitless here, and all of our resources and lands must be strictly controlled and regulated, and we get charged a premium for it in exchange. The truth of our larger realm seems to be hidden in plain sight, much like most of our buried history. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
By the end of this video, it's going to be completely apparent that you are not allowed to freely explore Antarctica, and Antarctica is not a continent on the bottom side of an oblate spheroid shaped like a brain. This is what we're told Antarctica is, but Antarctica is actually an ice wall that encompasses us and contains all of the quadrillions of gallons of water in the oceans. Because water needs a container, bro. You can't just have magical bendy water on a ball and not have it fall off the bottom. And for all you people that are about to comment gravity, go check out my video where I debunk gravity with science. But due to the Antarctic Treaty, we are not allowed to freely explore past the 60th south latitude, this black line that surrounds us, and it actually requires a permit. You have to get approval by the government, or as you can see in the red, that will be your penalty. Here are some of the requirements for Antarctic travel. They claim you have to have the permit so that you don't damage the ecosystem of Antarctica while we simultaneously burn thousands of acres of the Amazon rainforest every single day. But you're going to need to read this page, so pause, and then read this page. Pause. As you can see here, you need to file the advanced notification form. Here's the technical term for the form, and give them 3 months notice and tell them exactly where you're going, what you plan on taking, or you will be denied. And if they assume that you're trying to escape, they probably will just deny you outright. Here is the advanced notification form if you want to read it over. So for all the people that have told true earthers that they can just go to Antarctica, whoop-de-doo, just fly on down there, that is illegal. It requires a permit. Stop lying. For the remainder of the video, I'm going to prove that Antarctica is not a continent on the bottom side of a ball. It is actually a wall, again, that contains all of the oceans because water necessitates a container or it will run. There's a phenomena called wraparounds when dealing with tsunamis. In the context of a tsunami, a wraparound refers to the situation where a tsunami wave, instead of being dissipated after hitting a coastline or a landmass, continues to travel around the coast and comes back and hit the same area again from a different direction. So this is what we would expect, right? It's a pretty small continent on the bottom side of a ball. You would think if the actual tsunami wave propagation were wider than the shoreline of Antarctica, we would have it wrap around and touch the other side like I just explained. That never happens. Not once in history has that ever happened. Actually, the waves are propagated out to the wall and they're contained by the wall and shot right back, proving that it's not a continent. Antarctica is also admitted to be at an average elevation of 7,545 feet, acting as a shoreline to all of the ocean. Let me guess, you need more information. Check my link tree in my bio for my podcast. Plenty there.
About 5 minutes. Australian Navy ship shooting.
Facing our way. Bad boys. Yield.
Is it?
The turret is turning our way.
The turret's turning at us.
Boy, we should hide Adrian in case they think we're trying. We're just traversing. Is there a helicopter coming at us? Are we like, I don't know where. Just travel, just go.
Just go.
Send out the chopper.
That's a drone.
Is it?
That's unreal.
When people say, why the lie? One of the main answers is they're hiding more land.
What if we can truly become
Show me a working model of a flat Earth, you stupid flurfer!
Here's a working model of a flat geocentric topographical plane. Now show me a working model of your corkscrewing impossible. You can't because it's so ridiculous that it simply doesn't work. Your senses are not lying to you. It's the sun, moon, and stars that are in motion, exactly as they appear to be. To believe otherwise is exactly that, a belief. By believing in such a cosmology, you're denying your own experience and intelligence. You're looking at a cosmology that matches your observable, testable reality. So, by believing the opposite, you're literally being willfully ignorant. Flat Earth is rooted in the scientific method, and the globe Earth is rooted in scientific theory. Therefore, Flat Earth stands on proven facts, and the globe Earth just spins in your imagination. Subscribe to Unbind Your Mind on YouTube for more like this.
Let me show you something. This is the world map. And this is wrong. What if I told you that from here to here, it's 6,400 kilometers. But from here to here, which only looks like half the size, is 7,200. The continent of Africa has been shown smaller than it actually is. What if I told you that Greenland was only this size? Or Russia was this size? Or the US and Canada were much smaller? You know what? This is the real map. Look at Sweden, Finland, and Norway. They're much smaller now. Or Greenland is tiny. Maybe it wasn't practical, but it seems unfair towards Africa. Why haven't we been told this in school?
The Earth could be much bigger than we thought. Over the past few years, there has been ongoing debate regarding the Earth's shape, with some questioning whether it is round or flat. Although some speculate about the existence of conspiracy theories, imagine if there were more than just 7 continents. Some propose that Antarctica might actually be an enormous ice wall, concealing the existence of additional continents beyond it. Hypothetically, once someone manages to traverse this icy barrier, they might discover the presence of 20 hidden continents that have been shielded from our knowledge. These mysterious lands have sparked various theories, suggesting they could contain prehistoric creatures, extraterrestrial beings, and advanced civilizations. Furthermore, an intriguing concept proposes that the 7 continents we currently inhabit might be akin to a vast farm or corporate enterprise, owned and controlled by a small group of immensely wealthy families. These wealthy elites would supposedly originate from the enigmatic, undiscovered continents.